ఓకే. మనం ఇప్పుడు నిన్న ఈ స్లైడ్ వరకు చూసాం మనం. లెర్నింగ్ ఫెసిలిటీస్ వరకు చూసాము. ఇప్పుడు ఇవాళ వి వాంట్ టు సీ ది టీచింగ్ లెర్నింగ్ మోడల్స్. టీఎల్ మోడల్ అంటే టీచింగ్ లెర్నింగ్ మోడల్స్. ఇవన్నీ కొంచెం ఫాస్ట్ గా చదివేయచ్చు. ఇందులో పెద్దగా కాంప్లికేటెడ్ గా అర్థం చేసుకోవడానికి ఇబ్బంది పడేది ఉండదు. Teaching and learning are independent acts. Yes, teaching is the purview of the teacher and learning is the personalized act of the student. So teaching and learning are two independent acts. One is in the purview of the teacher and the other is in the personal purview of the student. This is the difference. Anchata, they are independent. They can be called as independent acts. And the other thing is, but teaching at the same time is integrally related to learning. Wherever there is teaching, there is learning. Learning లేకుండా టీచింగ్ ఉండదు. కానీ వితౌట్ టీచింగ్ లెర్నింగ్ కెన్ బి దేర్. అదొకటి. తర్వాత టీచింగ్ ఎయిమ్స్ ఎట్ లెర్నింగ్. టీచింగ్ లో ఎప్పుడు లెర్నింగ్ ఉండాలనే టీచింగ్ నడుస్తుంది. అండ్ టీచింగ్ కాజెస్ లెర్నింగ్. వితౌట్ లెర్నింగ్ దెర్ ఇస్ నో మీనింగ్ ఇన్ టీచింగ్. సో దీస్ ఆర్ ఆల్ ది వేరియస్ మోడల్స్. Based on this, we get so many theories. To see here, these appear to be very, very simple things, but based on this, there are a number of theories which we are going to see. Then some basic teaching learning models are direct instruction. This is one model. Direct instruction means straight away lecturing in the classroom. It's a classroom instruction, lecturing, and blackboard demonstrations, etc. This is the direct instruction from the teacher to the student. And we have another thing also that we have not mentioned here, that is indirect instruction. Indirect instruction means by helping the students work for themselves, means they will be given necessary notes, they will be given some online lessons or some recorded lessons. That is called indirect instruction. And then this lecture method comes under direct instruction. The other one is cooperative learning, means this is a group activity. Cooperative learning means the students are made to form into groups and they learn in groups. And the next thing is inquiry-based learning. Inquiry-based learning is inquisitiveness among the students. They inquire for themselves and what all they want is facilitation. The teacher supplies them all the things they want and also he guides them how to inquire. And based on their inquiries, the students work for themselves. And that can go cooperatively also. Then seminars. Seminars, we know, they will be presenting their papers. And after the seminar is over, there will be a question answer session. And the participants or the attendees can raise questions on the presentation made. And the person who is giving that seminar, he will answer the questions. Then project-based learning. This is more hands-on learning. The students are given certain projects to work for themselves. They have to do it on their own. And by that, they will be learning. This is supposed to be the best form of learning. These are some basic teaching learning models. And the next one is, chiefly in teaching learning models, we look into three models. One is pedagogy model. Pedagogy model means this is relating to engaging children. Means when it comes to children, it is not something like teaching or guiding or whatever. It is something like engaging children, purposefully engaging children in useful things and making some indirect learning to the children. This is the important thing. And this applies engaging children in some activity or the other. It's a trainer-led learning. Here, more than teaching, training goes. The children have to be trained how to receive information and how to understand information, how to pay attention to the teacher and all these things. They will be trained. Children will be trained in this pedagogy model. Then the learner is dependent. Here the learners are children. They are totally dependent on the teacher. The teacher has to guide them. The teacher has to plan what is to be given to him. And the teacher has to plan for himself how to organize, passing on some information or some activity or some engagement to the children. Teacher himself has to determine what is to be taught to the child and how it is to be taught. Here, learners have no responsibility totally. They don't involve in either learning or paying attention. That is all the lookout of the teacher. Motivation drives from external sources. In pedagogy model, they have to be motivated with the necessary demonstrations. That is important, by showing toys, etc. and all those things. The children have to be motivated to pay attention to what is being taught to them. This is the pedagogy model. Basically, actually, these are all very big topics, and there's a lot of subject around these topics, and there are several experiments made how to do all these things, and we are not going to read all those details. We will just only know the outlines of the different models, because the questions are multiple choice questions, and they are based mostly on an inquiry system. Inquiry means you should have the knowledge. He gives something. Pedagogy model relates to child education, adult education, adolescent education. That's all. Questions will be like that. Therefore, if we know about the topic and its peripheral knowledge, that is enough. We need not go much into the details. So pedagogy model is particularly relating to training the children. That is pedagogy model. Here, naturally, the other things we can easily understand that training children means the entire responsibility lies with the teacher or the trainer. And children bear no responsibility. They are quite independent. They are dependent in the sense for receiving anything, and independent. They will not pay attention, and they will be behaving the way they want. So this is the pedagogy model. The next model is called Andragogy Model. Andragogy model is cultivation level. We call it cultivation level means this relates to adult education. It is the method and practice of teaching adult learners, means adult education. The adults who received no formal education are now being introduced into teaching learning process. When they are newly being introduced at their advanced ages, first of all, their behavior should be cultivated in such a way that they show some interest in learning. And accordingly, the teacher has to plan the subject to be taught, and the means and ways to be taught, and various teaching aids to be used, and how to catch attention of the adults. This is all the lookout of the teacher only. Here, it is a method and practice of teaching adult learners. Self-directed and goal-driven learning means self-directed and goal-driven learning means why adult learners come. Because till then they have no formal education, they come to learn something in their interested topics. So they are self-directed. Someone wants to know how to learn mathematics. Someone may be interested in some history topic. Someone may be interested in some literature topic. And so they are self-directed. They come with some personal goals. They have their personal goals, and they come to learn only towards their interested goals. This is therefore called goal-driven learning and self-directed, because these are adults, they know how to go about learning. And then the teacher employs here role plays to make them involved. Role plays means in various examples. These are like experiments in teaching. Role plays means he assigns different roles to the students, these adult learners, and he asks them to enact those portions so that they directly learn. They can do it because they are adults. And then simulation means constructing models. And then based on the models, they are taught. And then self-evaluation and strategies. He encourages the adult learners to evaluate themselves, how far they have come in learning in their own interested direction, in their own interested in achieving their own interested goals, how far they have come. Teacher always encourages the adult learners to evaluate themselves. Then the learners here are independent and problem solvers. Problem solvers means because they are adults, though they did not receive any formal education, in the real-time situation when they face a problem, they know how to solve those problems. They will get the solutions to the problems on their own. So they are independent and they can solve their own problems. For that, teacher need not toil much. Learners seek guidance for the direction of their learning, because these people are adults. They know how to, in which direction they have to go to learn and achieve the desired goals by them themselves. So, but what all is needed here is how to go about learning that particular topic or learning in that particular direction in which they are interested. This guidance only they need from the children. So they seek guidance for the direction of their learning, because if he wants to learn something, he may not be knowing what to refer, where that literature would be available, where the books are available, and what is to be learned first and what is to be learned next. All these things, they need something like a guidance. So this guidance only is expected by the adult learners. Motivation is intrinsic. Here, these are adult learners, and they come based on their interest only for their self-directed goals. Therefore, here motivation automatically is intrinsic for them. They get the motivation from their inner self. They get their motivation for their inner self. So this is the Andragogy model. And in Andragogy model, what are the elements involved in the matter of teaching are preparing the learners when they come with certain goals and with certain ideas which they want to learn. We have to prepare them. The teacher has to prepare them how to behave in a classroom and how to receive the information transferred to them. And then climate setting. Climate setting means a classroom setting. They have to properly set comfortably to the adults. And then mutual planning. Then, because the learners are adults, the teacher consults them and mutually they draw a plan how to go about learning in the specific topics in which they want to learn. So this is mutually done because the learners are here adults. Then diagnosis of learning needs. They come with their self-directed motivation and self-directed goals. Therefore, this will be analyzed. This will be analyzed and diagnosed. What for the teacher guides them, what for they wanted to learn that, and what is it they are going to gain by that learning. And that way he diagnoses the outlooks of the adult learners, and if necessary advises them about the usefulness of the topics they have chosen, and they may be asked to choose another topic, or if by their analysis and if by their diagnosis, if they understand that what the direction they are going is good, they can proceed in the direction itself. Then formulation of the learning objectives. Then what is it desired by the adult learner, and depending upon that, they decide certain objectives. What is that the adult learner wishes to gain from that learning? So those objectives are fixed for such and such an objective. This learning is going on. So this is how they formulate the learning objectives as per the needs of the adult learners. And then learning design and execution. So after the objectives, and first of all, the teacher elicits the interests of the learners and he prepares them to receive the information to be given by him, and the classroom is set suitably and comfortably to the adult learners, and then they mutually make a plan how to go about the learning, as per their wish, and then they diagnose the individual learning needs. Diagnose means the usefulness or otherwise of the goals desired by the adult learners. And if they are found to be okay, then they formulate the objectives. So what is their objective? What is their goal, which they want to gain from that learning? So they fix the objectives, and then how to achieve those objectives, they design how to learning and how to execute that learning process. This is the about Andragogy model. So Andragogy model is basically an adult education model, and cultivation level means they have no intelligence, they have no formal prior learning, and they are not so very intelligent people also. They are initial learners, though they are adults. So this is the andragogy model. Why I am saying this is, there is a third strategy that is called pedagogy model. Pedagogy model means realization level. This is also in adult education model. The difference between andragogy and pedagogy is that andragogy model is a cultivation level. Cultivation level means they are the fresh entrance into the classroom. They have no formal learning and they have no prior intelligence or prior knowledge. They are quite beginners. So that is andragogy model. But here in pedagogy model, realization level means though these are adults who have no formal education, they are well matured. They have a lot of prior knowledge. They are determined for their goals. They are determined for what they need to learn, they want to learn. And then they know how to learn and where to go. And they know how to solve their own problems. They take full responsibility for their learning. They fix their interests. They fix their goals. They fix their objectives. And they know how to go about learning. They take their responsibility. So the teacher here only becomes only a facilitator. He has to supply them the information required by them, assist them, and guide them in which they want to learn. These are mostly inquiry driven because they have prior knowledge. Based on the prior knowledge, to improve their knowledge, to proceed and to achieve their goals, they start inquiring, means collecting information in various methods, by various methods, and also from the teachers. And through those inquiries, they analyze the information obtained, they tag it to the prior knowledge they possess, and they acquire the higher intelligence. This is how it goes. That is what is called inquiry driven. And then motivation lies in experience flow, in experiencing flow and knowing how to learn, because they have a better prior knowledge. They have the experience how to proceed with their learning, and therefore they have a motivation. They get their own motivation from their inner self. So basically the three learning models are, major learning models are pedagogy, andragogy, and pedagogy. Pedagogy is at the children level, that is for training children. Andragogy is for adults without maturity or without much prior knowledge of what they have to learn, though they have fixed goals and they have their own fixed interests. And the third one is pedagogy model, in which adults with full maturity and a lot of prior knowledge, they have fixed opinions and they have their own ideas about what they want to learn and what they want to achieve, and they fix their own objectives. The only thing is they go by their own motivation and they by their own inquiries. The teacher, what all the teacher has to do is only to guide them and furnish them the information required and give them the assistance required. These are the three important models. Normally, these models are given in the form of a matching style question. Pedagogy, and ikkada moodu matching style, moodu patterns, left side istadu, right side istadu. You have to match which relates to which sort of learners అనేది. అట్లాంటి questions వస్తాయి అన్నమాట ఇక్కడ. So the next thing is phases of teaching. And then teaching has three phases. The three phases of teaching are, one is pre-active, the second one is interactive, and the third one is post-active. Pre-active, here activity is teaching. Activity is teaching. Pre-activity means before teaching. What is that before teaching? What is there before teaching? Means the teacher has to make a plan of the subject to be taught. Then he has to make a program how to go about teaching that particular subject. And then he has to make a planning, what are the teaching aids to be used by him. And then he also has to know some information about the students, and he also has to apply how to catch attention of the students and how to properly manage them and how to keep them under strict discipline, and how to give them, and all this sort of planning is done in the pre-active level of teaching. Activity is here teaching, pre-active means prior to teaching. These are the preparation of the teacher, in other words. Then interactive, this is actually the stage where teaching goes. Interactive means here an interaction comes between the teacher and the student. This is actually the conduct of management of education process, how he treats the children, how he teaches, how he employs his strategies and techniques of teaching, what teaching aids he is employing, is he able to catch the attention of the students. All these things relate to interactive phase. Interactive phase means he is actually executing the teaching activity there, and he is with in direct interaction with the students. Therefore, he has to be careful with reference to all these things so that teaching becomes fruitful with reference to the pre-active decisions taken by him. Then post-active. The post-active thing is, post-active for a teacher, we can easily understand that he should elicit for himself how far his teaching was successful. Means what is the level of additional information gathered by the students. So with relating to their prior knowledge, they should have acquired some additional knowledge, some new knowledge by this teaching. How far has it come? That is to be evaluated. So there are certain evaluation processes here applied to know to which extent the students have got the benefit of the teaching. This is the point here. And by this, they wonderfully, not only the evaluation of the student done, and based on the group evaluation, it reflects on the process of teaching also. If many students fail to learn much from the teaching, it reflects on the teaching, that the teaching process did not go in the right direction, in the direction in which it has to go. It did not reach the children properly, students properly. So this is the post-active phase activity. So these are the three activities in the process of teaching. And then teaching behavior. This is important. The latest questions are given in latest years. Therefore, I have collected this afresh. Teaching attitudes. I have general information, but I remember there are certain specific points. There's a lot of subject. అంటే ఇంచుమించుగా నేను దీన్ని వెతికినప్పుడు ఈ నోట్స్ చేయడానికి నేను ఒక 25 పేజీలు చదివితే నాకు ఒక 5 పాయింట్లు దొరుకుతాయి అందులో. అలా తీసుకుంటాను. ఎందుకు తీసుకుంటాను నేను ఇవి? ప్రీవియస్ పేపర్స్ లో ఈ యూజీసీ నెట్ ఎగ్జామినేషన్స్ లో ఏమేమి క్వశ్చన్స్ వచ్చాయో అవి దేనికి రిలేట్ అవుతాయో నేను రిలేట్ చేసుకుని ఇవన్నీ తయారు చేసుకున్నాను అన్నమాట. సో టీచింగ్ యాటిట్యూడ్, వీ కెన్ జనరల్లీ అండర్స్టాండ్. టీచింగ్ యాటిట్యూడ్ మీన్స్ ది టీచర్ షుడ్ హ్యావ్ ది యాటిట్యూడ్ టు బి dutiful. He should be sincere to his duties. Teaching is his profession. He should be devoting for that profession. He should be devoted to that profession. So he should be serious in what he wants to teach. Then there are so many other things to be observed by him. He has to carefully plan the subject to be taught. He has to carefully make all his arrangements for using teaching aids and arranging the classroom, and ensuring that all the students in the classroom listen to what he is saying, or are able to visualize what he is showing, and all these things he has to show. So these are all the various topics relating to the attitude of the teacher, and he has to carefully prepare the study material. He has to help students individually. He has to treat students with love and affection apart from discipline. That is very, very important. He has to be like a friend at times, and he has to be a disciplined. He has to be maintaining a discipline at times. So all these things has to mix up. So the teacher's attitude is made combining all these things. If all these things are combined properly, the teacher gets a good attitude, and then he would be able to give a meaningful teaching, and which would be beneficial to the students, and it will be a fruitful teaching session. This is all about teaching attitude, but I know there are certain particular terms. I'll collect them and I'll let you know later. Then coming to teaching behavior, 5 key behaviors are effective teaching. And they have identified 5 key behaviors for effective teaching. What are these key behaviors? Key behaviors means behavior of a teacher with reference to teaching. So the behavior of a teacher should be like this. He should not hide what he is going to say and all that. He should not create confusion or such things. Here, the teacher has to, the first point is, the first key behavior of teacher should be to give clarity to the students about what he is going to teach. So lesson clarity, what subject, what lesson, what topic he is going to teach, he should clearly explain to the students in the outset. Then instructional variety. Instructional variety means the various methods of teaching. So if he is going in a particular method, he decided, and if he gets an observation that the students are not properly receiving, he has to show a variety in that teaching process. Similarly, in the teaching aids used also, he has to show a particular variety. This is called instructional variety. Then teacher task orientation. Task orientation means teacher should be prepared to face any task to deal with the subject or to answer the questions that come up from that raise up from the students. So this is teacher task orientation. The another key behavior is engagement in learning process. The teacher should ensure that the learner or the student in a classroom is never left idle. They should always be engaged in some way or the other in the learning process. Always the teacher cannot go on lecturing. At times he wants leisure, he takes some gaps also. In these gaps, he should not let them idle. He should give them some work, or he should give them some project, or he should give them to draw something, or he should tell them to read and write something. So the teacher should ensure that the students are always engaged in some sort of learning process, and he should ensure that the students are never left idle in the classroom. Then the student success rate. So the student success rate means naturally the success rate of the students means in the evaluation processes, in the examinations. What is the success rate of the student? This is another very important key behavior, means that should be good. If that is not good, the teaching process is not good. So these are all the technical terms in teaching behavior. At times, the question in the examination is given like this. The following are the key behaviors in the teaching process. And he gave some 7 or 8 things. In those 7 or 8 things, about 2 or 3 of these 5 are available. You have to mark those things, means A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So B, D, E may be the 3 points which are included here. So you have to give the answer as B, D, G. This is a multiple choice type of question. So teaching behavior means you should carefully remember all these things. Lesson clarity, instructional variety, teacher task orientation, engagement in learning process, student success rate. Don't think that these are given randomly. And these are the technical things which have been identified as key behaviors of a teacher in the process of teaching. And the mnemonic to remember these teaching behaviors, 5 teaching behaviors is, you remember the word teaching behavior. Why teaching is done through to throw light onto the students. And students prakashamanam cheyadaniki. So prakashamanam cheyadam through to throw light on the intelligence of the students. So you remember the word lights, L-I-T-E-S, lights. This is the way how we have to develop remembering these things. Lights means because you keep yourself read with all this information. If you remember this mnemonic as lights, see all the first words are L-I-T-E-S, lights. L means lesson clarity, I means instructional variety, T means teacher task orientation, E means engagement in learning process, and S means student success rate. So you have to identify the various 5 teaching behaviors, effective teaching behaviors with this mnemonic as lights. This is how you have to remember these things. These are not random things. These are all the technical terminologies. When he gives some 6 terms, 6 or 7 terms, and asks you to identify what are the effective teaching behaviors of the following. He may give 2 or 3 or 4 out of these. You have to identify those things and mark those options for the question as an answer. So this is important. Similarly, I want to make a mnemonic and a specified list of teaching attitudes also, key behaviors in teaching attitude, that I'll let you know in the next class. So we'll now go to the next. Then variants of teaching, common terms and comparison. Variants of teaching means the various elements involved in the process of teaching. The various elements involved in the process of teaching. So in this process of teaching, these are the common terms of and how these various variants, various elements are compared with reference to one another. This we are seeing. Here the main variant is teaching. Teaching is the main thing, main activity going on. This teaching is associated with so many other elements. How teaching is associated with each of the other elements is what we are examining here. So teaching is the main activity here. Remember that. Teaching. What is teaching? This is a very, very important topic, and definitely one bit would come in the examination from this. Teaching. It is a formal approach to give lessons with learning as the end result, and it enables critical thinking. When you are teaching a lesson to the student cannot be a passive listener. Just విని వదిలిపెట్టేసేస్తే ఏం ప్రయోజనం ఉంది దానికి? For helping himself to gain more knowledge, the student has to apply himself, and he has to inquire, and he has to think, and he has to gather further information, and he has to improve his knowledge. This is what is called enabling a critical thinking. So the student always thinks to build upon what the teacher has informed him, and he tries to build his knowledge to a higher level. So teaching is just a formal approach. The teacher gives the new information to the student through lessons, and it is for the student to make a critical thinking and improve himself. This is the normal teaching process. All of us know this. The next one is learning process. Learning is students can learn without teachers, but teachers cannot teach without learners. This we have seen many times. Then from here onwards, we are going to see various important elements here. All these look like teaching, but they are not actually teaching. Teaching is different from that. How teaching is different with each one of these elements. One is training. What is training? We heard all these terms: teaching, training, instructing, counseling, conditioning, and indoctrination. So what is the actual meaning of this? No, definitely we would have heard all these terms, but we never think precisely to know what is what and what is the difference between two terms. All seem alike. For example, teaching, training, what is the difference? We don't know what is the difference here. Similarly, teaching, instructing, both look alike. Teaching, counseling, but there are precise differences in between these things. Those we are going to see now. What is training? Teaching is, here we have seen, formal approach to give lessons, means it is transfer of or supply of information to the student. This is teaching. Training is, training is given to a student to develop his abilities, means training is given to a student to improve on his abilities to do things or to gain knowledge for himself. So this is to get solutions to his problems. So for all these things, training is given for development of abilities to the learners. Then instructing. Instructing means here what is this? This is another type of teaching. Instructing means here the teacher does not say anything. He does not support the student to do anything or to collect anything. He only gives him the tools. He gives them a project and he gives them the necessary tools to do the project. He asks them to do the project on their own. He will not give any guidance. He wants them to first try for themselves, and he'll be giving whenever they get a problem or they get stuck up without knowing, because they may not be knowing how to proceed further. Then he gives them certain instructions. Okay, you do like this, you go this way, you can go further on this, on what you have done, you can go further towards achieving the project given to you. So such instruction is given. This is the instructing. And then counseling. Counseling means students at times, they analyze themselves and they realize where they are strong, what are their strong areas and what are their weak areas, where they are lagging to understand and where they are lagging to improve themselves, and where they are good in learning and where they are good in improving themselves. Normally, where they are good and where they are improving themselves, they are okay, they are happy. But where they lag in learning or understanding things or improving themselves or building further knowledge, then they come to the teacher and they want to submit all their problems. I have this problem, I am unable to understand this, I am unable to do this, I am unable to comprehend this, I am unable to improve on this, I'm not able to go further on this. So this is how the student comes to the teacher. And teacher means here we should not call him a teacher, he is called a counselor. So he gives his problems, means he seeks solutions to his problems. So the counselor, what the counselor does is he listens. He listens what all the client, here we call them a counselor and a client. Client means here a student, because we are in the teaching learning process. So the student, the counselor listens very patiently to what all the student says, and he gives him certain solutions and guide him in certain directions. You do like this, then you will be empowered and you will be able to overtake your shortcomings and fall in the right track to understand and improve on yourself. This is called counseling. Then conditioning. Conditioning means this mostly relates to the cognitive mechanism. Cognitive means, I said, relating to the brain activity. Conditioning means he trains your brain. అంటే బుద్ధిని ఆయన సరి చేస్తాడు అన్నమాట. అంటే ఇక్కడ ఆయన ఇంతవరకు మీకు చెప్పేవన్నీ పై మాటలు, కౌన్సిలింగ్ కానీ, ఇన్స్ట్రక్టింగ్ కానీ, ట్రైనింగ్ కానీ, దీస్ ఆర్ ఆల్ ది ఫిజికల్ థింగ్స్. హియర్ దిస్ ఈస్ ది కాగ్నిటివ్ థింగ్. కాగ్నిటివ్ అంటే ఈ కండిషనింగ్ అండ్ ఇండాక్ట్రినేషన్ అనే వచ్చేటప్పటికి ఈజ్ ఎంటరింగ్ ఇన్ టు ది ఫీల్డ్ ఆఫ్ ది కాగ్నిషన్, అంటే మీ బ్రెయిన్ వర్క్. హియర్ హీ ఎఫెక్ట్స్ డీపర్ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ ది బ్రెయిన్, అంటే ఈ ఇన్కల్కేట్స్ ఇన్ యూ ఏ సెన్స్ ఆఫ్ డీప్ థింకింగ్ ఫర్ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్. అది నీకు నువ్వే చేసుకోవాలి, నీ ప్రాబ్లం సొల్యూషన్ కూడా ఎవడు చెప్పలేడు. అంచేత బికాస్ నీ ప్రాబ్లం యాక్చువల్గా యూ మే బి అనేబుల్ టు ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్, or you may be at a problem to put forth your problem. You may be at an obligation to put forth your problem. In such cases, he conditions your brain and he gives you some examples and trains how to react to several situations. This is all improving on the thinking capacity of your brain. This is conditioning your brains. And then indoctrination. Indoctrination is, we want to give value added education to the students. That is basic education. But these values are not normally so easily taken by the students for granted. They start questioning, they start arguing. But where indoctrination means there is no scope for a questioning or for any discussion or for any such things. There's no way for that. Indoctrination means where the teaching goes in a way that those values which are taught to them should be accepted by the students without any questions or without any discussion. Means this is a sort of authoritarian system of teaching. This is what is called indoctrination. So these are all the common terms in all the activity like teaching, and how actually teaching differs from training, how actually teaching differs from instructing, counseling, conditioning, or indoctrination. Let us examine these things. See, teaching versus learning. Here, the first one is learning, teaching, learning. So, teaching versus learning, this is common. We know teaching is giving lessons to a group of learners about a subject. I need not explain all these things. We save on time here. Learning is gaining knowledge by being taught. Learning is the end goal of teaching. Students can learn without teachers, but teachers cannot teach without learners. These are all the things which we can easily understand. And already we have in our prior knowledge all these things. So this is about teaching versus learning. The other thing is, next thing is we have training. So teaching versus training. Now let us see this. Teaching is theoretical and abstract. Teaching means the teacher gives information to the students. This is abstract. It is not experimented. It is not proved. He says some lesson and the student receives the lesson which is taught by the teacher. Training is hands-on and practical. Training means it's a practical work. It's a lab work, hands-on practice. Here, you work on what is being taught practically. You work on what is being taught practically. Whereas teaching only is theoretical. Training is practical. This is teaching versus training. Then, teaching imparts knowledge by providing information, and training develops abilities. We have seen what is training. There itself we have seen that it gives the necessary empowerment for improving the abilities. So this we have seen in the definition of training itself. So the difference is major difference between teaching and training is teaching is academic. It is theoretical. Training is practical. Teaching imparts knowledge by providing information. Here, training means here the learner is trained how to develop his abilities to gather knowledge, but he is not given any knowledge by providing information here. So this is teacher versus training. Similarly, the next thing is teaching versus instructions. Next, we have seen the instruction. In instruction, information flows in one way. Instruction means authoritarian. The teacher says the student has to receive. That's all. So this is a one-way flow of teaching learning process. This is one-way flow of teaching learning process. In instruction, information flows in one way. One is active and the other is passive. Here, the teacher will be passing on information and the student would be just listening to what the teacher is saying. Step-by-step directions are given by one to another to complete a task. Here, instruction means specifically if a project is assigned to a student to do something or to achieve some result through some experiment, the teacher is with him. The teacher will be going on instructing him, do like this, do like this, do like this. And he takes him step by step, each step and to the other step, and then to the other step. He takes him step by step till the result is achieved. This is called instructing. In teaching, one thing is in teaching, teacher is an expert. Teacher is supposed to be an expert in what he is teaching. And is an expert and the other is a learner, and both are active teaching law. Because when teaching is going on, we said the teaching is an interactive process. Teaching learning process is an interactive process. When teaching goes, the students can question and the teacher has to give them answers. So here the learner is active and the teacher, of course, is to be active always. So the teacher is active and the learner is also active. Here the expert provides guidance and information as the student experiences something. And in instruction, what happens is, in instruction, the teacher goes on giving him various steps. Here, the student is rather a passive fellow than an active fellow. What the teacher says he would be doing, and he proceeds toward the result. So this is teaching versus instruction. And next thing is teaching versus counseling. A counselor listens, guides, and empowers the client. చెప్పాను కదా ఇక్కడ టీచర్ స్టూడెంట్ అనము, కౌన్సిలర్ అండ్ క్లయింట్. అంటే ఇక్కడ కౌన్సిలర్ ఈజ్ నాట్ ఏ టీచర్ అట్ ఆల్. ఇక్కడ ది క్లయింట్, దట్ మీన్స్ ది స్టూడెంట్ హూ హ్యాస్ సమ్ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ ఇన్ అండర్స్టాండింగ్ థింగ్స్ ఆర్ ఇన్ రిసీవింగ్ థింగ్స్ ఆర్ ఇన్ ఇంప్రూవింగ్ హిమ్సెల్ఫ్. He approaches a counselor. Counselor is one who listens to the problems faced by the student in the process of his learning, and he gives him certain principles and certain lines and certain solutions how to improve himself, and thus he empowers the client to improve to overtake his problems, his deficits. So this is teaching versus counseling. Teaching focuses on giving direction and counseling focuses on facilitation. ఇక్కడ చూడండి, చాలా చిన్న చిన్న క్రిటికల్ డిఫరెన్సెస్ ఉంటాయి అన్నమాట. చూడడానికి ఒకలాగే ఉంటాయి. టీచింగ్ ఫోకసెస్ ఆన్ గివింగ్ డైరెక్షన్. టీచింగ్ డెఫినెట్ గా డైరెక్షన్ ఇస్తాడు, ఎలా చదువుకోవాలో ఏమిటో. కానీ కౌన్సిలింగ్ ఏం చేస్తుంది? డైరెక్షన్ ఇచ్చి కూర్చుంటే చాలు. ఆ డైరెక్షన్ లో అతను ప్రయాణం చేయడానికి ఫెసిలిటేట్ కూడా చేయాలి. ఏ కౌన్సిలర్ ఫెసిలిటేట్స్ హౌ టు go in the direction in which he has suggested him to improve himself. Then what is teaching versus conditioning? ఇక్కడ కండిషనింగ్ అంటే మనం చెప్పాము, ఇక్కడ ఇది మనం ఈ కాగ్నిటివ్ జోన్ లోకి వచ్చేసాం మనము. అంటే కండిషనింగ్ ఇస్ ఎ బిహేవియరల్ ప్రాసెస్ వేర్ బై ఏ రెస్పాన్స్ బికమ్స్ మోర్ ఫ్రీక్వెంట్ ఆర్ మోర్ ప్రిడిక్టబుల్ ఇన్ ఎ గివెన్ ఎన్వైరన్మెంట్ as a result of reinforcement, the reinforcement being a stimulus or a reward for a desired response. ఇక్కడ మనకి రెండు టర్మ్స్ తెలియాలి. అవి ఏమిటంటే స్టిమ్యులస్ అండ్ రెస్పాన్స్ అని అంటాం మనం. స్టిమ్యులస్ అండ్ రెస్పాన్స్ అని అంటే ఏమిటంటే టు ఎంకరేజ్ ది స్టూడెంట్ టు లెర్న్ ఆర్ టు ఎంకరేజ్ ది స్టూడెంట్ టు ఇన్వాల్వ్ హిమ్సెల్ఫ్ మోర్ యాక్టివ్లీ ఆర్ టు ఎంకరేజ్ ది స్టూడెంట్ టు బి more receptive and to be more improving himself. What we do is we show some we give him some rewards, or we give him at times some punishments. So with the punishments or rewards or such things, we try to encourage the students in the right direction. So these rewards etc., these are called stimuli. So this is a stimulus. It stimulates some sort of encouragement in him. So he will receive that encouragement and he proceeds further. So that can be a reward. And that means ఇక్కడ టీచర్ ఏం చేస్తాడు అని అంటే స్టూడెంట్ కి ఒకటి, నువ్వు ఈ పని చెయ్యి, ఈ పని చేస్తే నీకు ఈ రివార్డు. కొంత దూరం వచ్చాడు అనుకోండి, కొంత దూరం వస్తే వెల్ డన్, అక్కడికి అతనికి ఒక రివార్డ్ ఏదో ఇచ్చాడు అనుకోండి, అతను స్టూడెంట్ చాలా సంతోషపడతాడు కదా. న్యాచురల్లీ అతను ఏమిటి, చాలా ఎంకరేజ్ అవుతాడు, బాగుందే ఇది అనుకుని. అప్పుడు ఏం చేస్తాడు? హీ ఇన్వాల్వ్స్ హిమ్సెల్ఫ్ మోర్, హీ అప్లైస్ హిస్ బ్రెయిన్ మోర్. అంచేత ఈ రకంగా ఏమవుతుందన్నమాట, వెన్ హీ ఈస్ గివెన్ సమ్ రివార్డ్స్ మీన్స్ హీ షోన్ ఏ స్టిమ్యులస్, హిజ్ రెస్పాన్స్ ఈజ్ మోర్ అగ్రవేటెడ్. వాడి రెస్పాన్స్ చాలా చాలా సీరియస్ అవుతుంది ఇక్కడ. మీన్స్ హిజ్ బ్రెయిన్ యాక్టివిటీ ఇంక్రీజెస్ విత్ దిస్ సార్ట్ ఆఫ్ స్టిమ్యులస్. This is called a stimulus response process. So this is what is conditioning is. Here conditioning means his thought thinking capacities are dealt with here. So this is called conditioning. Teaching is not like that. We know that. Teaching works on understanding level and enables students to think critically. We said when teacher is supplying information, the student cannot be just a passive fellow. He has to be an active man and he has to involve himself in what is being taught and try to develop on what is being taught and develop his own knowledge for himself. That means he has to think critically. Here, the teaching works only at the understanding level of the student. Then the last one is indoctrination, where the values are important to the students without allowing any questioning or discussion. Indoctrination is teaching someone to accept a set of beliefs or values. Here, no questions allowed. No questions allowed. So this is a sort of authoritarian method of imparting teaching. So teaching works on understanding level. This is always there. Teaching is an understanding level and enables the student only to make a critical thinking is of what is taught to him and improve on himself. So this is the relation of teaching with various other elements connected with the teaching learning process. All these elements are connected with the teaching learning process are learning, training, instructing, counseling, conditioning, and indoctrination. And we have seen how teaching is related to all these terms individually. This we have seen now. And the next thing is methods of teaching. There are teacher-centered and student-centered methods, and there are some direct and indirect methods, etc. So all these things we'll see tomorrow. We'll continue tomorrow. We'll stop here. So this is for today. So we'll stop here. Thank you. Chodam tomorrow in Kavarana Ustaremano. We'll go from there. Thank you. Good night. I'm stopping here.